Good morning. It's still morning, barely. This is Shindo. As I have said before, on many occasions, watch North Korea. North Korea is acting up again because the Japanese Prime Minister was just in the Winter White House, I think they call it, down in Florida, with the President Trump. This is BBC News. North Korea ballistic missile test sparks condemnation. South Korea and U.S. officials said the missile, launched on Saturday night, flew east towards the Sea of Japan for about 500 kilometers, 300 miles. South Korea's defense ministry called it an armed provocation to test the response of U.S. President Donald Trump. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, standing next to Mr. Trump on a visit to the United States, said the test was, quote, absolutely intolerable. United Nations resolution forbid North Korea from carrying out missile tests, part of the wider efforts to prevent it becoming a fully nuclear-armed power. South Korea's foreign ministry said that, quote, North Korea's repeated provocations show that Kim Jong-un regime's nature of irrationality, manically obsessed in its nuclear and missile development, unquote. Hostility. NATO also condemned the missile test, with Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg urging North Korea, quote, not to raise tensions further and to re-engage in a credible and meaningful dialogue with the international community. The European Union joined the criticism, declaring in a statement that North Korea's, quote, repeated disregard of its international obligations is provocative and unacceptable, unquote. As for the U.S., Mr. Trump said on Saturday, quote, America stands behind Japan, its great ally, 100%, unquote. Top Trump advisor Stephen Miller told Fox News Sunday, quote, the message is that we are going to reinforce and strengthen our vital interests in the Pacific region as part of our strategy to deter and prevent the increasingly hostility that we see in recent years from the North Korean regime, unquote. China, North Korea's closest ally, has yet to comment. Beijing has joined in international efforts to press Kim Jong-un to rein in his nuclear ambitions. North Korea itself has yet to confirm the test. Sunday's launch took place at 7:55 local time from the Bangyang Air Base in North Pyongyang Province in the west side of the Korean Peninsula. Much of the detail has come from South Korean officials. The Musan intermediate-range missile reached an altitude of 550 kilometers, 350 miles. The South Korean military said this type is thought capable of flying a distance of 4,000 kilometers and reaching the U.S. territory of Guam in the Pacific Ocean. However, experts suggest tests are programmed for shorter distances to avoid a missile landing on Japan. That was the latest in a series of tests in the past year, including North Korea's fifth of a nuclear device. In January, Kim Jong-un warned that his military was close to testing long-range missiles capable of delivering nuclear warheads to the United States mainland, but experts doubt the technology has progressed that far. At the time, Mr. Trump derided the claim in a tweet saying, quote, it won't happen, unquote. On a visit to South Korea last week, U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis said that any use of nuclear weapons by North Korea would meet with a, quote, effective and overwhelming, unquote, response. He also reconfirmed plans to deploy a U.S. missile defense system in South Korea later this year. Now, I can tell you that deploying this defense system in South Korea is just going to rattle their cage even worse. Not that I'm against them doing this, but it's going to rattle their cage even worse. And as far as North Korea ever having a long-range nuclear weapon that can hit the United States, the possibility of that is slim and none, I would say. that doesn't mean that they're not going to hit South Korea. South Korea is the biggest ally the United States has in the region, even bigger than Japan. I would think we've been at war with Japan at one time, if you can remember. We never been at war with South Korea. The United States protected South Korea in the 50s during the Korean conflict, the Korean War. So I can tell you, this is not just a minor thing. When tests go wrong, and they will, they learn from them. Something that I've been talking about. If you go back and look at my channel, you can see that I've been talking about North Korea for some time, because this is significant. Because this was predicted. I absolutely believe that eventually, probably within the scope of this current administration, that would be in the next 4 years, you will see North Korea fire some kind of nuclear device onto South Korea. Now, that's a prediction of mine. I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm sure it's going to happen, though. And I'm relatively certain that it's going to happen under this Kim Jong-un, who is basically a child in a man's body who is completely and totally insane. An entire generation, from his father to his grandfather, these people in North Korea, they're crazy. And they got a huge army, too, by the way. If you want to eat in North Korea and you're of age and you're male, you go and join the army, because then you know you're going to get fed. So they have a huge army as well. So this isn't a minor thing, and the way Trump acts according to virtually everything, we'll see how he reacts to this. This is Shindo. Have a good Sunday.